Hey guys, my name is George, welcome back to my channel, and today we're going to be touching on the topic of hair loss once again. Now, here's the thing about this topic. I've kind of already been there, done that. I've told you guys about minoxidil, finasteride, shampoos. I've already told you about all that stuff, about habits you should have so that you stop losing your hair, all this stuff. So this video is not going to be the same as every other video where I personally just tell you information that you could just look up online. This video is sponsored by Suns. They seem like a really cool company that basically makes treating hair loss quite simple and easy, but I'll talk about them in more detail slightly later. In this video, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to call one of my good friends, one of the many people I know who already are taking products such as minoxidil, and we're going to hear his anecdotal experience with these products. So yeah, let's see what he has to say. Hey bro, how you doing?
Yeah, I'm right, man. Yeah. Yeah, not doing bad at all. Just chilling, really.
Great, so you don't mind answering these questions for me, for my YouTube channel?
Not at all.
I feel like a lot of guys would actually find some benefit to listening to somebody experienced talk about all these products.
I think there can still be quite a stigma around it, you know. I think people will kind of sometimes they'll just kind of get on a program or routine and kind of keep it in the background. And I think sometimes you'll get people just not even starting because of the stigma. And I think there's sort of a golden rule when it comes to hair loss that people almost always start too late, whether that's like a year or 3 years or whatever. It obviously makes a big difference, and prevention is way better than cure when it comes to hair loss. So
Yeah, for sure, man, for sure. So I'm just gonna ask you some questions that I thought about, and if you could give me the answer, that would be great. Just be honest. Don't like say anything that you haven't experienced or whatever. I know this is just your opinion, so yeah, just say whatever it is that is the truth.
yeah. For me, actually, I didn't really realize it until I think it was my family started pointing it out. I think like I was sitting like at the dinner table and people would be like, "Yo, you losing hair?" I'd be like, "Don't think so." It took me about a good 6 months from when people started pointing it out for me to actually start kind of taking it seriously. I think I started losing it, I would say, looking back now, somewhere in their sort of 18 to 19 age. And it's kind of peaked for me because I've already got like naturally quite fine, not massively dense hair, so it doesn't take a lot to go before it really starts to look noticeable. So I think looking back, I would say I probably started losing it about at least a good 6 months before people even started mentioning it. And looking back to when I was like 16 or whatever, my hair is like noticeably thicker again than when it was at 18. So it just is the way of these things. Like you'll lose a good amount before you actually start to notice, I think. When I first started noticing I was losing hair, I think I started about it was midway through my first year of uni, and I started on finasteride, and I took standard sort of first approach. I sort of took a 5 milligram tablet and cut it into quarters. I was really lucky to have a really knowledgeable and helpful doctor. I still do. He is very interested in sort of cosmetic issues as well, so he'll help like a lot of guys out with getting finasteride prescriptions. And so he kind of ran me through it, put me on finasteride, which would have been great, but I kind of like ran through the stuff that he prescribed me and then kind of didn't bother to fulfill it or like to fulfill a new prescription. So I actually stopped taking it for I would say nearly a year in between for literally no reason. And I think a lot of the ground I actually lost in that sort of region where I just kind of for whatever reason decided not to do anything. So yeah, I mean, so I've been using some sort of product inconsistently from like 19 to 20, and then from like 2021 ish, I've used finasteride day in day out, and I've kind of been adding extra stuff to my regime as well. Okay, yeah, there's quite a lot to talk about all in there. Um, so what I use this by the way, what I say I use is by no means giving anyone medical advice. I would not suggest that you just kind of listen to what I use and put it on your shopping list and throw it onto your regime, because what I use is quite specific to me. But at the moment, I use 1.25 milligrams finasteride every evening. I take zero point 0.5 milligrams of dutasteride every 2 days. And that's kind of a more potent version of finasteride that kind of bolsters the effect that finasteride has. And then I also use minoxidil, actually both topically and orally. Although there's no real reason to do that, I am just, I still have some topical minoxidil, so I'm just kind of using it while the oral kicks in, because I've only started oral, I'd say about 2 or 3 months ago. Other than that, I don't take anything else. I did microneedle for a while, and I think it's effective. I just am not using topical minoxidil at the moment, so the two combine. I think if you were to ask me why I use all of them, it's kind of basic hair loss knowledge that medications are split into two main categories. The first one is sort of the prevention side, and that is essentially you're aiming to block DHT, the most androgenic hormone that men produce. You're essentially going to be trying to block that hormone from being produced in whole or in part, normally in part. The reason for that is that DHT doesn't really do an awful lot to an adult man, but it does cause hair follicles to die, and that's why we bald. Or not entirely why it seems, but it's a good reason, or it's the bulk even of the reason why we go bald. So on the prevention side, you're going to want to block some or all of the production of DHT, and that's why I take finasteride and dutasteride. Dutasteride is really effective at that, and it kind of blocks 90-ish+% of DHT from what I've seen. And finasteride is more like the sort of 65 to 70% range. There are very good reasons why I wouldn't recommend going straight onto dutasteride. I think the most important one is the fact that dutasteride lives in your body for a really long time. It has sort of a several month. I don't remember the exact sort of half life that it has, but it's long. And so if you start taking dutasteride and it builds up in your body, and you do develop some sort of side effects, which are, I think, pretty rare, but if you do develop side effects, it could take quite a while to clear and to get better. So I don't see any reason not to jump on finasteride to start with, at least, if not just stay on finasteride. So yeah, they're my prevention drugs. Both of them. So if I take dutasteride once every 2 days, there's kind of a lower level of that in my body than there would be if I took it every day. So I'm kind of going for a bit of a hybrid approach, and that has roughly stabilized me. I have quite bad genetics when it comes to hair loss, so it seems to me that there's not a lot that will completely save me from going bald, but the combination of those two does a good bit of the work. And then the other side, the minoxidil, is essentially a stimulation therapy, and the plan is to try and cause more hair to grow rather than to prevent the loss of more hair. Now, it's important to know that minoxidil is essentially quite a crude medication. If you put it somewhere, you'll grow more hair there. And also that if you do take minoxidil on its own, it will not prevent you from going bald. It will just strengthen the growth of your existing hair. And sometimes that will, produce regrowth of hair that you'd lost, but it still does not stop hair from slowly dying off. So yeah, that's roughly the rundown of what I take and why I take it. So there's the two sides again. There's the prevention, which is the DHT blockers, and that's finasteride and dutasteride. And there is the stimulation therapy, trying to produce more hair, and that's on the minoxidil side. So that is what will produce more hair for me. It's been entirely positive. I haven't personally experienced any what I would call, I guess, deleterious side effects. So my quality of life has in no way been reduced by taking these medications. Obviously, applying topical minoxidil can be a bit of a pain because it takes sort of another 5-10 minutes, and because I apply it at night, it's often the time when I really would just rather go to bed. So there is that sort of to bear in mind. But other than that, I've experienced absolutely no problems. And the sort of peace of mind has been really, really useful as well. Sort of just reducing that, reducing the onset of hair loss is in itself worth its weight in gold to me, because I am, a young guy, and I think I would be very close to bald already, or at least, like way further receded than I should be. And I think, by the time I was 30, I would have no hope. So, being bought extra time is worth its weight in gold for me, and I haven't experienced anything negative at all, really. I would say that there is almost no reason at all not to try medical therapy before you go for a hair transplant, or before you accept kind of going bald. Um, I mean, ultimately, in the grand scheme of things, all of these hair loss medications are extremely safe. The They're some of the most prescribed medications in the world. They cause side effects in a very small percentage of cases, and a lot of the time, when you in studies, when you introduce a placebo effect, they still cause those side effects. So no, I really don't think there is. I think if you start going bald and you're 30, you should jump on. Well, again, this is not medical advice, but if you start going bald when you're 30, you should definitely strongly consider medical therapy, because at 30, you may well never go bald if you start proper medical therapy. If you're my age and you start going seriously bald, you may still buy yourself 10 years or more of good hair that you would never have been able to have in the first place. And then obviously, hair transplants become a much better option when your hair loss is somewhat stabilized. So, yeah, I would absolutely, again, not medical advice, but I would absolutely recommend that you look into medical therapy. And that is primarily, again, finasteride and minoxidil. Finasteride comes first. You need to prevent losing more hair, not stimulate the hair you have. I know that minoxidil might seem the more attractive prospect at times, but finasteride is the better starting therapy.
So yeah, hopefully that was a little bit insightful. Somebody who actually uses these products on a daily basis and has done for quite a while. Thank you again to Suns for actually sponsoring this video. A little bit more information about them. Suns hair loss treatment actually help keep and grow hair in 90% of the men who use their treatments. Their plans are very affordable and they're completely tailored to you, so you only get what you need in the box. And also the convenience of it getting delivered to your door every month is super great. I feel like a big roadblock for a lot of guys is just ignorance. The reason they don't start with their hair loss treatment is because they're a little bit ignorant. They don't really know what they're doing. They don't know how to put the pieces together. They don't want to keep buying the stuff. So it's a lot easier to just pay for a plan once, and then every month it's just automatic. It's a process that just comes to your door. You just need to use the products. I think that's going to be a lot more convenient for a lot of you guys out there, and hopefully it helps. If this video was even remotely useful, please leave a like and subscribe to my YouTube channel, and also follow my Instagram at George F. Lato. Thanks for watching, guys, and peace.